Today I'm here with John of T-Witch Games, and I just got a chance to play his game, Rogue Labyrinth. It's roguelike. How would you describe the game, John?
It gets compared a lot to Hades, so I guess that's probably the best thing to tell people. It's a narrative action roguelike where you just can hit anything and everyone around, pinball them off of all the walls, destroy everything, bounce it everywhere, create a lot of controlled chaos.
And what's the story about? Just like a brief synopsis.
The best way to say it is there's this awful rich guy who shows up and is like, I'm going to make a game that's just going to solve all the problems in this area. And everyone in the area is like, we don't actually want you to do that. And he's like, it's too bad, I'm really rich, so I can do what I want. And then all of the other surrounding countries of this area are kind of like, that sounds great, let's all participate in this thing and cause issues. And that's basically it. It's just a big like anti-capitalist, anti-colonialist kind of general message of a thing.
And what's Iris's role in this?
Iris is someone who is from the country that is trying to be sold off as a prize and sort of stumbles into the role of playing like a representative savior of the country that they are from without really wanting to do it. Just sort of like this punkish character who's showing up here because they're essentially looking for a job and then just sort of gets shoehorned into, actually, you need to save the country right now, sorry.
One of the things that I really liked was the feature where you have like a follower who can do a little bit of damage and deflect. What was the inspiration for that?
We wanted to make cute things. That's about where it begins and ends. It's a roguelike. There's a lot of different things that you can get. One of the more classic roguelike things is, you just get a little follower that does something that when you trigger it. So, we have one follower that when you use one specific kind of ability, that follower will shoot something. When you use a different kind of ability, it might a different follower will send out a shockwave. We have full-on follower builds where if you build throughout the run correctly, you can just stand in a corner and your little guys will go out and just do everything for you. And it's great, and I love that. Please, break the game kind of situation.
Yeah, and in terms of genres like roguelike and Metroidvania, what do you think sets your game apart from other roguelikes that would kind of inspire somebody who hears the word roguelike and gets turned off? What would you think is a feature of your game that can get them into yours?
The two major things are, the one that is a little bit more just like gameplay-ish is this started out as more of like a brick breaker pinball thing and just kind of evolved more into giving the player more and more agency until they could now in this, the final version of the game, they can move around and hack and slash. But it's still more about bouncing things, deflecting things. You get that little bit of like hit stun when you like deflect something just right and it zooms around and hits all of your enemies for a bunch of damage. It's a little bit more of that kind of like controlled chaos. I'm gonna make a bunch of projectiles, you all try and hit me kind of situation. That's the more gameplay side. The other one is a big focus of ours was trying to make a roguelike that had a lot of depth to it for people who wanted a whole lot of, challenge and action and stuff, but also one that people who were not very familiar with action games could step into. We have had playtesters who've been with us a while that never played that much of these kinds of hack and slashy top-down action games, and they just kind of like, they hold down the attack and dash button and they just maneuver themselves and they do pretty well and they have fun with it. And that's a lot of what we're going for. We want something that's accessible to people who haven't played a lot of roguelikes and usually get intimidated because roguelikes tend to be hard. Yeah. And so we wanted that low barrier of entry, but still a lot of depth for people who want like that kind of challenge or whatever else they want.
Mm-hmm. And in terms of unlocks, like as you go deeper into the game, the unlocks become more powerful and the enemies become more intimidating. As you get further into the game, trying to think, do you expect the player to have to readapt or recalibrate their strategy when they're playing, or do they have to simply get good?
The two main things is, towards the beginning of the game, a lot of the early bosses and like mini bosses are built around have you learned the basic mechanic? These guys are going to throw a lot of projectiles at you. Have you learned that you can deflect things, and then you'll do really well? But as you go on, one of the major elements that I wanted to design around was we don't want bosses with like specific weaknesses or you have to do a specific build. We want every build that the player makes to feel good and to work. So, you know, a boss isn't like, oh, this boss, you have to have fire powers to like affect this boss. It's like, no, fire affects all the enemies evenly, but your play style some play styles might be better against certain enemies or bosses, but generally speaking, no matter how you play, as long as you play effectively, it'll always work. And that was something we wanted to go for. We didn't want to like punish someone just because they have slightly the wrong build for a situation, but we did want to punish someone if they didn't understand that you can dash, for instance.
And then finally, how long is the game going to be in terms of someone wanting to go from beginning to end on a typical run?
So a single run of the game, depending on how far along you are in the game, a single run of the game is like 30 to 60 minutes. It's a little shorter than some of the other, like, I guess like Hades likes like type of things, but still has a decent amount of like standard meat to it. Yeah. The entirety of the game, we usually see about like 10 to 15 hours. People who really want to like be completionists about it, it's easily like 20, 30 hours. But like in terms of the actual like linear story, it's like a 10 to 15 hour situation.
And then finally, this is a question we ask all of our developers that we interview. If you could compare Rogue Labyrinth to a food, what type of food would Rogue Labyrinth be?
There is, so my family's Taiwanese, so I eat a lot of Taiwanese food. There is this Taiwanese food that y'all Americans may not have heard of called bubble tea. Okay. The one thing about bubble tea, you can consume it in so many different ways. The stuff that's in it was traditionally used in a bunch of different forms, but it's sort of been fused together into this very new, very fresh thing that's playful and fun, but also like very easy to get into. And it's become sort of the catalyst or beginning for a lot of people's journey into having, I guess we can call them traditional teas. And I think of Rogue Labyrinth as something a little closer to that, where it's like, this isn't quite your traditional roguelike, but it's going to be fun and it's going to be like this entertaining and sweet thing that is easy to approach no matter. We've had a lot of like young kids play the game and have fun with it that are, you know, like they don't know how to play games. They just play and they mess around and they have a great time. So yeah, I guess that's sort of my equivalent.
Yeah. Anything else you'd like to share for the viewers watching?
About Rogue Labyrinth, I wish I had something clever to say. I'm sorry that we live in a capitalist world. Here's a game that's a little bit anti-capitalist. Please give me money.
All right. A couple questions from the Peanut Gallery.
Yeah.
What inspired your color palette? Because what it looks like to me is like the palette and the UI suggest Game Boy Advance, but I wanted to double check.
A big thing for me in color is Minish Cap, and beyond that, Capcom. Minish Cap was Capcom for those who don't know. I love Game Boy Advance. It was one of the first and bigger things that I really played. I'm old, I just didn't play a lot of games when I was younger. And Minish Cap really defined a lot of what I do with pixel art now and what I direct with pixel art now. Color-wise, I am red green colorblind. I just straight up take and slightly adjust colors that I see and try and design around that as best I can to work in a way that works for me, who can't see all the colors, and also just still feels interesting to other people. The end result is that a lot of colors that I use end up very saturated, and that leans towards Capcom, and so I tend to lean towards that feel. Very Capcom-y, very saturated, very Game Boy Advance to even Super Nintendo era of color usage.
All right. How many times have you accidentally made a tree red and someone had to correct you?
For this game, it hasn't happened in my in my like 8-ish years of making art for games. It's happened a number of times. Or oranges and pinks and purples. I've had a lot of trouble with.
All right. Oh man, I'm sorry to hear that.
It's fine. I'm very used to it now.
All right, that's good. I had a friend who's colorblind, and he is convinced that, like, because he can't distinguish between blue and purple.
Yeah.
He's convinced that purple doesn't exist. He thinks that it's a conspiracy among his friends to, like, just fuck with him. And then one last question for you. So I understand that it's a roguelike action game with, like, progression elements, like you keep things and upgrade things over time. Is this a game where if someone boots it up, they can beat it with just the skills they start with?
100%. I do that all the time. It's I think a great way of like testing things. I'm reminded back all the way to the Castlevania Symphony of the Night developer recordings that you can like buy from the librarian in the game, where you can watch the developers beat any one of the bosses. It's just a thing that you can just do in the shop. And they always do it on level 1. So towards the final boss, one hit will kill them and they're doing like 1 damage to the boss. But you can just watch them play through the whole thing. Or most of it, I think. Some of the recordings aren't long enough. But, and that really stuck with me in the sense of like, I need to make a game that I can beat anything being severely, I suppose, under leveled. There's no levels in this, but under upgraded. And still be able to get through it myself as the developer, because if I can't do it having nothing, it's going to be hard for me to expect, especially beginners, casual people that we're trying to market towards and encourage to play the game. How are they going to play it when they're all upgraded out? So, yeah.
Yeah, I love that about Gran Turismo 2 as well. It's like it's a game that teaches you how to play it. Because you go to the license tests, and they have a recording like, oh, here's the developer beating it. But not only do they just beat it, like they're using automatic shifting instead of manual. Also, they're using digital turning instead of analog. So they got the control pad, they got gas, they got brake, and they're beating this shit.
Yeah. I think it's important for a lot of designers, to bring up another little-known designer by the name of Sakurai. Had that whole YouTube series, and one of the things that was mentioned, it was kind of like when you make any design anything, when you were the developer testing out, you should make yourself have like half health. You should make yourself take twice as much damage. You should make yourself slower, everything worse than what you would expect the player to be able to do, because they're going to come in without that. I remember that like sticking with me when I was doing testing for balancing, because I want it to be approachable.
Yeah, and it's just the curse of being the developer. You're going to have hundreds of hours of practice, so of course it's easy for you.
Yeah, and we have, like, luckily we've had a group of testers who have been playing the game for a while, and of course they're quite good at the game. I'm playing it every month for a few hours, but like, even then, when I see these people, it's always a blessing when we get someone new, and I can see like, oh great, I can't wait to see how bad they are at the game. I've been watching too many experts play the game for a while now. Please, like, I need to see how you die. I need to see what trips you up. That's always important.
Yeah. But what do you mean you can't dash cancel into a 3-hit combo?
Yeah. But really, it's funny to see what like trips people, what becomes, I guess, like normalcy for a lot of people, where they just expect a game to do, even if the game tells you, oh, you can't actually do this, but they just expect that you can do it. Me and any other developer, we always need to see what is generally expected, just because of the life of being surrounded by thousands of games, what has become normal, despite us making the game, trying to make our own unique game, and being like, no, that's not the case for us. And they're like, why not? I'm like, I don't have an answer for that. I don't know. I guess I can put it in. So, yeah.
All right, awesome. Anything else?
I think that would do it. Thank you so much, John, for the interview.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you all. You're great. Please don't die.
We're trying, man.
Okay, yeah.
We're trying. Stay
Likewise to
hydrated.
you. Yeah, stay hydrated during PAX, and look forward to playing the game when it comes out.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Comes out September 1st.